What's going on, y'all? It's Brian with the Trial and Error podcast. I had a meeting that ran over this morning, so I apologize. Still got to do the business thing. And so, but yeah, so today's episode, I wanted to kind of reintroduce the concept of what this is about and what trial and error actually means, and why we kind of landed on this as a concept for the show. Um, and a lot of it has to do with basically um, Fearless and I's way of interpreting things that we do in our day to day lives. Um, and so we're actually, and the reason why is because I'm actually going to be launching the Spotify podcast. I'm aiming for Thursday. And so I'm in the process of uploading a bunch of these back episodes and really getting a lot of this on Spotify. Because that was the biggest piece is figuring out the way to bundle this so we can reach as many people, but make sure that we have a delivery model that kind of captures the vibe of the show. And so that's the piece I've been working on the last couple of days. And so I wanted to take this episode to kind of reorient ourselves, um, and talk about what the philosophy is behind trial and error, and how it kind of plays a role in how we determine things. Hey, Fearless, what's up?
Hey, what's going on, man?
So today we're just talking about the concept of trial and error, um, and kind of revisiting what the show is. The reason why I wanted to do that is because I'm in the process of getting uh, our Spotify show set up. And so I wanted to kind of talk about what the concept is and how it kind of ties into how we operate and move through life. So the concept of trial and error, essentially. Um, and why, for me, and I know talking to Fearless, to me, that's the best way to actually take book knowledge and make it into real knowledge is to actually try it in a real world setting.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, so this is kind of what the formation of the show was, but then talking about how it translates to real life. Uh, Last week we talked about power, and there's so much going on in the world right now. I have to take a second to kind of process what's happening before we have any more meditations on hard and soft power, because we see in hard power run absolutely ridiculous. Like hard power is actually is giving voice and basically threatening to commit war crimes right now. And so, and I say that with a smile on my face, but that's very seriously and earnestly what's happening right now. And so I wanted to take a little bit of time to kind of digest what's happening, and then we could always have the power conversation again regarding stuff. So anyway,
Actually, before we do, so kind of like touching back on what you just said about the taking the book knowledge and then making it it's something that you actually do. There
mhm.
was a video that I had watched, and a friend of mine just bought a motorcycle, and she bought a 500 Ninja, Kawasaki Ninja,
Mhm.
and on the video, the guy put the kickstand down and he turned the the wheel outside of him, so not in, out.
Uh,
Leaned back a little bit. No. It was on the kickstand.
mhm.
Lean back so he can turn the bike
Okay.
160 or whatever it happened to be. We're like, and I sent it to her. And that night she went out riding, and I said, "Hey, have you tried that video?" She said, "I did, but I wasn't able to get the back tire up." So I'm like, "Okay, well, let me try it." No, no. Um, and that's the reason why that's what trial and error is all about in general.
Yeah.
Because I could tell you that that didn't work. So think about the thousands upon thousands of people who see that and say, "Oh, okay, that's an easy way to do that,"
Hmm.
and then they go out and try it and find that it doesn't work. Or let's say they don't have a motorcycle And they're talking to somebody that does. And they say, well, no, you don't have to back all the way up. Just just put your kickstand down, turn the wheel outside of yourself, lean back a little bit, and then turn it. It's as simple as that. Oh man, that's a really good idea. I'm gonna do that. You just gave information that you have no idea about.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And so not only are we kind of there in life in general, but you see a lot of conservative thinking.
Hmm.
And I don't mean that to be negative by no means, because I think that there's some things that you do need to stay conservative in.
Hmm.
There's certain things you do need to kind of be liberal in, but there also needs to be that healthy balance.
Hmm.
And what's happening that I've seen, somebody who loves to read as much as I do, is that we are foregoing liberalism. We are foregoing anything that challenges the status quo.
Hmm.
We are foregoing anything that challenges not just the status quo, but a cultural norm, a cultural hierarchy that has been in place since the formation of America. And we have people that you would think these things through, but they're not. And it's more of like a cult mindset,
Yep.
hive mind cult mindset. And these these authoritarian figures, they don't want your money. They don't want your vote. They want your loyalty,
Compliance. That's what it is.
you know? So, in even when you're giving them that, you're foregoing all these other things that are set up in the Constitution that fights against this particular thing.
Hmm.
So, like, yeah, so it's a very interesting time.
So
Very interesting.
following up on it, I had an interaction online where they're talking about childcare, like daycare and stuff for kids. And dude on the other side, he hopped on there and said, "Why don't you just get?" And he's one of the crypto bros on Twitter, so a lot of times they end up being the self-appointed experts of everything that's ever
Of
happened.
course. Yeah.
Um, and so, but basically, it's like, instead of daycare, you just get seven families together and they all take turns watching the kids through the day, and then you don't need a daycare. And now somebody who's had 20 20 plus years at all levels of congregate care, and providing care for kids, I'd hop on and say, you respectfully, bro, you don't know what you're talking about. I said,
Yeah.
the idea that you think, like, most adults who don't have any experience doing, like, caring for kids, most parents have a difficult time keeping track of more than three kids of the same age in the same age bracket. More times than not, when you're a parent, you have kids that are different ages, and so you're used to having different approaches. You're not used to seeing the exact same behavior mirrored across multiple kids of the same age range. The
Right.
idea that you're going to take at a minimum, you're going to take one person and make them in charge of seven kids that are in the same age cohort with no training or anything, that is doomed to fail. And
Mm.
it doesn't work like that. When you have teenagers, like I managed places where we had 12 teenagers at the same time. And the level of attention that you have to pay, it required me and other staff full time doing this in order to maintain things. And these weren't even, some of these kids weren't even kids that had any kind of behavioral issues. Most people aren't equipped to provide that level of care to kids that are the same age. And especially once you start adding numbers to it, you're talking about one person taking care of seven kids that are around the same age range. There's no way that can happen. I had to tell them, what you're saying is not real. Like that's unsafe situation waiting to happen. You're talking about a bunch of kids that are daycare aged. you're going to have at least 7 kids that are daycare age, and one person supposed to take care of them.
Right.
Yeah, I think it'll be cheaper when you start looking at hospital bills and food bills and stuff. It'll be cheaper to just help people fund daycares than because it's that, well, we can do it by ourselves. Well, there's a reason why daycares exist, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason why there's specialized training for daycares that run well. There are badly run daycares all the time. But working with kids in an environment like that is a specific set of skills that you require. And from the outside looking in, you can give simple solutions. But I'm be honest with you, the idea that that is always a simple answer that's layman stuff, bro. Sometimes complex questions require complex answers. It
Mm-hmm.
requires specialist answers. And so it's just really interesting to see that level of interaction. And the guy was completely clueless, but he was 100% sure that he had this solution that will work for parents. And it's like, no, that's not going to work. You can't take seven 3-year-olds and have one adult watch them.
Right.
One or two adults watch them. It's just not going to work. But I've also seen it where the dude was talking about, he showed, somebody was showing like old architecture, right? And how it was carved out of marble and stuff like that. And he's like, see, people did that without college degrees. And it's like, they're apprenticeships. Like, people study their entire lives in masonry.
Yeah.
That's the closest thing to a college scholarship back then.
Yeah, I just read an article last night about it was done in 2013, and they were talking about, the how having a college degree is so much more than not having a degree at all, or just a high school education.
Mm-hmm.
And she gave a very one-sided, college is this, college is that, college is all these amazing things, but the thing that I don't really think she was really getting was that the article was also stating that the jobs that people would do without a college degree, now people are hiring people with college degrees to do those jobs because college graduates are available,
Mm-hmm.
because there are no more other jobs
Right.
to do those particular things. So it's kind of like mom and dad working at McDonald's,
Right.
you know? You know what I'm saying? So the kids are 13, 14, 15, 16 years old looking for jobs, but they can't find one because they're competing with an adult.
Yeah. And as a hiring manager, 10 times out of time, you're going to take an adult because they know how to. They have the soft skills to maintain a job.
And that wherewithal, the focus, attention, all that stuff, they'll stay focused longer.
Yeah.
You're on your phone, talking to your friends, doing all kind of other stuff.
I remember my niece got fired from a job for doing TikTok dances on the clock. Like, and she was kind of astonished about why it happened. And it's like, my dear, you can't do that on the clock. Like, they're not allowing that. And it was hard to explain to her, like, because she's a kid, and you're like, for her, it's just something to do when there's nothing else going on. And as somebody who's done it before, is like, but if there's nothing else going on, that's when you go do other stuff. You find things that need to be done around the place and get those done. That's what they're paying you to do. Chris says you can read about a subject all you want, but until you physically try it, you can't fully understand it. And that is true. And that's I think we have a society, not just a society, but we have a world where any information that's accessible, and you have people that are self-appointed experts in things that they've never done before. That's part of the reason why I wanted to start Fearless and I were talking about the show, because Fearless knows one of my biggest pet peeves when you go on YouTube and you see somebody who is talking about business models they've never done before at length and telling people to jump into them and try them. I ran across people that got people into all kinds of drop shipping businesses. And and didn't tell them what it actually takes to do drop shipping. And people got in over their heads real quick. They had merchandise that they had ordered from some warehouse in China tied up in customs. They're losing money every single day. And come to find out, the person that got them into the business had never really done it before at scale.
Yeah, that part. Yeah, no.
They just went on YouTube and found other people talking about it and made a video about it. And
Mhm.
I've seen it as a marketer a lot of times. I've seen a lot of, 20-year-old marketing experts out there. And when you start asking them, like, well, have you ever done this kind of campaign? No. Have you ever done a retargeting campaign? No. Um, you ever optimized anybody's Google, you know, Google ads profile? No. Like they haven't done any of this stuff, but they're self-appointed experts because they can sell you installation of Go High Level, which is a built-in a third-party marketing software that people in the industry use. And it's like, but you're selling your expertise to people, and because they see you as an expert, they're going to trust everything you say. And if you haven't done some of the stuff that you're saying, you have no concept, and so you're leading people wrong. That is one of my biggest pet peeves, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start this. I thought trial was important to realizing whether this thing is viable or not,
Mhm.
and I feel like that's a step that gets removed a lot of times.
Right.
you know but like you said, the college thing, these kids are competing against grown folk for jobs, and it's not anything to shade the kids, but an adult's going to be better at a lot of different jobs just because they have work experience you know and that's just a real thing. Not saying that the kid can't ever be better than the adult at a specific job, but this person has years and years and years of an advantage of holding down a job, versus a kid that this is their first gig. And so that's one of the challenges that you run into. And I feel bad for these kids that they're having to compete with college students and
Yeah.
retirees, because that's the way that the economy is kind of going. So um, I haven't even touched the outline, bro. But
Oh,
yeah,
really?
yeah, I haven't even touched. Well, I haven't even started talking about it. But
So one of the things that I did was I walked into um here, let me show you this.
okay,
I wanted to see how much money does it if that the government makes every year or collects approximately, and it is 5.6, excuse me, 26 trillion in revenue.
mhm.
Trillion. I don't think people understand how big that number is. But they collect $5 trillion. When a person tells, let me
You can't even conceptualize that kind of money.
I'm gonna try to think of a way to. Okay, so here, what's the difference? Okay, here we go. Let's see if I can. Can you see my screen?
I can. It's still kind of like, are you
Okay,
showing
here.
trillions? Yeah, I could see it
Yeah.
though.
Can you see this one right here?
I could see it. You might have to click on it to zoom in a little
Hold
bit.
on. God damn. Okay, I was trying to do this one right here, but it's
Oops.
hold on.
I could look up too. Like we need to. What is? Where is something that? Where is there a trillion of something that we could see on this planet?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying to do. Hold on, can you? So I don't. Yeah, you can. I'm trying to make this bigger.
Like, are
This is kind
there?
of a cool one.
Yeah, it is. That's the one I was landing on.
Yeah,
Um,
I like this one.
just you just kind of talk through it, and I think people can kind of see.
Okay, here, let me, here, I think that looks a little bit better. Okay, can you see that?
Yeah,
Okay, so damn, did I get rid of it?
yeah, it went away.
All right, hold on, I got it. Give me a sec. Sorry about that. I really want people to understand
Hmm.
like how serious $1 trillion is. Um, so $1 trillion. If you were to, I think $1 million in what is I think in time, if you were to look at it in seconds,
Hmm.
uh, a million a million seconds is like 12 days.
Right.
Okay, days. Um, a billion seconds is 32 years. 32 years is a billion seconds. 1 trillion seconds is 32,000 years. 32,000. So we're talking about days, years, and thousands of years.
Yeah.
32,000 years. Right? So that basically, like, again, our minds can't fathom it. But here you go. Like, there is the source of what we're trying to tell you. Like, this is, it's so crazy that it's honestly unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, unbelievable. That's how much money our government collects every single year. So to tell us that well, we can't afford certain stuff,
Yeah.
but yet they here. Let's go ahead and take it, Brian. I'm a
To
hold
t-
on.
it's astronomical number, and I think one of the issues is like if you took a trillion blades of grass, right? Like if we think about something that is small that we could reasonably have a trillion of on the planet, right? A trillion blades of grass is like 247 acres, a square kilometer of nothing but grass. That's what a trillion blades of grass looks like. That's how much they're asking, and they're increasing the federal budget to one point. They're trying to bump the federal budget up to 1.4 trillion, while saying there's no room for daycare, no room for small business development, no room for Medicare, no room for any of the things that a functioning government does do to provide a standard of living for their citizens. We're stripping all of that stuff out. All of that's going to go to war.
Yeah,
And
and look at this right here. The United States military budget for 2024 was approximately 850 to 900 billion. So you're talking about almost $1 trillion
mhm,
to be up in somebody else's shit.
yeah, yeah,
For listen, here's the thing. If you were to this whole child care that they're talking about, you're talking about anywhere from 42 to about 100 and some $billion
mhm.
just in that by itself. Dunsies, dunsies,
Uh,
right? Keep going though.
with that $1 trillion, and it does kind of follow it because I was looking at something too. That $1 trillion, um, you could take less than 1% of that and possibly and cover the food bill for every public school system in the country for kids to eat free for just a small piece of that, right? The reason why we could spend that much money is because there's a disconnect between how much these massive amounts of money. Like, here's the thing: we spend so much money that they could lose a couple $1 billion and nobody looks for it, right? Like they've done that in
Didn't they
our
know? Didn't
economy.
they do that? What was that right before?
In Iraq,
Yeah. How much was it?
it was a couple $1 billion.
Yeah, a couple. That was right before 9/11.
They lost a couple of $1 billion, and
Yeah.
but then they're gonna, in the same breath, they're gonna tell you, sorry, I mean, but we can't afford healthcare. Like we can't afford healthcare for veterans. You know, we can't afford. You got you know, a lot of times the country talks about how much they love veterans. It's like, but
No, they don't.
and there are serving there are families of
Sorry.
servicemen that are having to live on food stamps right now. You know what I'm saying? Because the pay isn't necessarily adequate for everything. But we can lose a couple $1 billion. Huh, it's just gone. I don't know what happened. Woo, it's gone. Um,
Right.
that's and so, but we're talking about astronomical amounts of money, and like the human brain has a hard time. I think the number was like 10,000. Like we have a hard time imagining more than 10,000 of something, right? Um, I've been in big crowds. Like I've been, been at pro football games. Your brain cannot fathom 80,000 people in one spot. It's like you have to take it in chunks because it just all starts blurring together. When I went to the Million Man March, you're talking about people standing shoulder to shoulder from the Capitol, all from the Capitol building all the way down to the Washington Monument. That is a big, huge crowd of people. It's almost impossible to imagine and conceptualize with your eyes. And that wasn't even that was that was a little that wasn't anywhere close to a trillion people. Like you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I think we end up losing touch when we start talking about these budgets. Like city budgets are massive expenditures, but there are people who have operating budget of a city in their assets. Like they have that much money where they have the money that they have is the operating budget of a small city or medium sized city,
Mm-hmm.
and they just have that as disposable. But $1 trillion, you can't even. How do you account for $1 trillion? What does the accounting look like for $1 trillion?
Right.
Because we're all hypothetical. This is all hypothetical. How much money is in circulation right now? Because I don't even think it's a. I don't even think
No, it's.
there's.
Yeah. Give me a second. I'll look it up.
I don't even think there's $1 trillion of money in the money
It's
supply
not.
right now. There might be, but I don't. Yeah.
It's not. It's not. I'll look it up now. Oh damn, no, I guess so.
Way over that. Yeah, I looked it up too at the same time.
Yeah. Oh my god, did really?
But
It
let's say
says
in the
that as
U.S.
early as 2026, there's approximately 2.3 trillion in physical U.S. currency in but that says worldwide.
Yeah, how
That
much
says worldwide.
money is in the U.S. money supply? Um, the total net worth. See, they keep getting. It's hard to determine because they'll say total net worth and things like that. The Federal Reserve currently has 2.1 trillion dollars.
Right.
But again, a lot of this is theoretical money. Like, there's no place where there is, Uncle Scrooge vault where somebody has $1 trillion that they can jump and swim in. This is all theoretical on paper, you know, and a lot of times when we start talking about these massive amounts, like when people are sitting online arguing about property taxes and where's the money going and stuff like that. Again, I got into some cat was talking about nonprofits. Now nonprofits are just stealing money from people, and what does this nonprofit need $2 million for? And it's like, well, I mean, here's the thing. So the nonprofit has land that is under the building that they've either leasing or renting. They got to keep the lights on in that building. They have staff over it. They got equipment. We're talking about a nonprofit medical center. The lease on that equipment is absolutely obscene. If you've ever been in seen any kind of dental shop, like the bills that they have to pay on a recurring basis, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
They're just stealing money. Yeah, I mean, but then you have to also compensate the CEO of a nonprofit similar to what other CEOs and nonprofits of similar size are getting, you know, and that leadership doesn't always come cheap when you get to larger nonprofits. So I'm trying to explain it to them, and you're like, no, they're just stealing money, man. I was like, I mean, if they're stealing money, then why was working in a nonprofit, even in a leadership capacity, like a vow of poverty? While I'm watching my other friends who are kind of in the private sector absolutely kill it.
Yeah.
But it's a fundamental misunderstanding of how these things work. It's like a nonprofit is still a business, man.
Mhm.
You just can't pocket the profits. You got to spend them back. You got to reinvest them back into the nonprofit. You have to make sure all of it goes towards mission related stuff. But nonprofits still have to pay their staff. They still got to pay benefits and stuff like that. And to see the gap of misunderstanding about how this works is like he thought that a nonprofit was just, well, they don't collect any taxes. Well, nonprofits do pay taxes on taxable transactions.
Right.
And so, but that's what we're talking about, y'all. And we start talking about massive amounts of money, people start losing touch of reality. People talk about, yeah, $1 million ain't a lot of money. Like, it's not. Where they do that at?
Right.
If $1 million ain't a lot of money, then you hand me $1 million right now and let me hold it. I think we've kind of crossed that threshold. But again, talking about government budgets and stuff like that, you're out of your wheelhouse. If you've never budgeted, I've done $1 million budget before. That is a ton of work. It's an insane amount of work for a department, a major organization, doing a close to $1 million budget. That is an insane amount of work. I can't imagine doing the budget for $1 trillion.
Yeah.
So, all right.
I mean, I could if you're saving a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
But if these expenditures have to go to all these different places, man.
Well, and my budget had all these different line items and funds and all this other stuff. I didn't, and this was literally my first time ever doing a budget like that. And I didn't even know how some of the accounting tricks. They're like, well, you could take out of this fund and pay for this out of this fund, but if you allocate it out of this fund, then you owe this much. And I'm sitting there like, I need somebody to, one, I needed training on how to draw this budget, and two, I need to understand what some of this stuff actually means. It took a
Mhm.
long time to wrap my head around that. And sometimes I don't. I know we have congressional budget office and stuff like that, and that's what their entire job is. But even then, you're still dealing with a lot of hypothetical math. That's why city projects, they always underestimate how much it's going to cost for a city project to get done because they don't
Right.
know. They got a ballpark. They don't really know.
Mm, right.
So anyway, um, here's the thing. So how many different things, um, and it's a question for just kind of the audience, for the fam out there. How many different things do you believe about yourself that you've never actually tested? How many pieces of knowledge that you believe are certain that you've never actually tested in the real world? Kind of like Fearless was saying with the motorcycle thing. How many things do you believe to be true that you've never seen tested before? Because I know I got a couple of them. You know, um, growing up with a mom who was a nurse, do you know how hard it is to sit there and watch medical procedurals with a mom who's worked in ERs before? And she used to watch them all the
Mm,
time. I was sitting there, you sitting there watching, and she's like, that's not what happens. That's not how they do that. That's not how they do intubate somebody. This is what you got to do.
no,
Um, you know what I'm saying? They're just doing that for TV. You know, um, when you have a working knowledge of something, it does change how you view how things are applied.
right. It's kind of like with those therapy shows. If somebody walks in and sits down on the couch and just starts talking,
Mhm.
like several of my friends that are therapists, we like, dude, 90% of the time it never happens like that.
Yeah.
I mean, but sometimes it does.
Hmm.
But with a lot certain people, you might see them here and then. Not only that, but you have those people that consistently keep coming back. But then you also have people that you saw them once or twice and you never saw them again.
Hmm.
So sometimes you don't see the same people constantly. You just see different people constantly. You'll have your those people that consistently comes in like clockwork, but those are, I don't want to say far and few between.
Hmm.
But I mean, depending on what's going on, yeah, sometimes.
Uh, it's like I remember watching, was it Lilo and Stitch when I was a case manager, and I'm sitting there like, it's not that happens, and I'm like, well, that piece is really realistic, like aspects of the Indian Child Welfare Act, right, and kind of explaining, well, why does she have why does she have a case manager that follows her and stuff like that? It's like, when why is she placed with her sister? Why isn't they didn't put her in foster care? Because ICWA prevents that from happening. They have to find
Mm,
relative placement, and if the relative placement is just an older sibling, then that's what they're going to place. The thing that's unrealistic is he wouldn't actually be working against her adversarially. He would be helping her, making the connection. Here's a job. I've talked to a couple of people. Here's some resources, trying to maintain the placement as opposed to come in and remove the kid. And
mm,
that's what the caseworker's job would be. That's what they're legally mandated to do as per ICWA. Now, there are caseworkers that did not operate like that. But when I was managing my Native American kids, that's what I did. Did a lot of family finding and trying to maintain placements and things like that. The last resort was if there were no other placements. That's where you're looking at foster care or some kind of residential. But you had to go the extra above and beyond with that. And that's just something I knew from working in there, and I could watch it and see. But if you didn't know, you would just assume, well, that's just how it goes. That's how it be.
mm,
Families that are in the system always have to watch out for case managers, and it's not a universal experience because sometimes managers was on some fuck shit and they was doing some sideways stuff. Um,
mm,
but the ones that actually worked and the ones that ended up burning themselves out were actually trying to do it the right way. The ones that didn't burn themselves out, they would take those kind of shortcuts. And so, but there are certain things that from working in the industry, and then um, when you see it portrayed on television, like when you see back in the day, you used to see Dr. Phil up there. You're like, that man ain't no damn doctor, bro. Like he ain't a doctor right now.
right.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's no way that that is his practice because they had been done sued him for all this stuff. You know,
Yeah, no,
uh,
it doesn't work like that. Yeah.
it's a lot more boring than it actually is. But again, um, the familiarity with the execution and actually doing the thing and doing the work is important. You know, um, Hell, I mean, even running the business kind of stuff. You see the shit on Shark Tank, bro. I watch Shark Tank all the time. Like, that's not how.
Yeah.
That's not how it
Um,
be.
sadly enough, man, I even watching a show like that, I kind of I'm thinking again. I think we've talked about this before. I've seen more people lose deals by talking
Hmm.
than anything else. It wasn't the plan, it wasn't their product, it wasn't their service. It was that they wouldn't shut up.
Hmm.
It was that they wouldn't stop talking and listen to what they were saying. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like I've seen so many of those shows where it's like, dude, if you shut up and listen to what they're saying to you, they want to offer it to you.
Hmm.
Shut up and listen. Like
And I'm
that's crazy.
and it's weird watching it because it gives an outsider's perspective. Because when you sit there and watch it, and it's like, oh, this guy built it from the bootstraps. Like this guy had a 7-figure job that he left to build this company, and he's already been in this world before. He's just never been on this side of it. You're not broke people. A lot of times, broke people don't go to Shark Tank. They don't make it. They don't make it that far. You know what I'm saying? You have to have some
So
kind of
no,
where.
some do though.
Yeah, some
Some
do.
do.
And
Some
but
do.
but then also there's a layer of producers and everything like that will sit
Oh
there and say
yeah.
this makes
Yeah.
good television and stuff. They have a great story. Let's bring them in. But then there's the other side of the Shark Tank thing where you have business owners that are actually suing. Like Damon John has been in lawsuits with his clients before, or with people
Yeah.
that he's invested with before. You know what I'm saying? And so there are other sides to it, but um, you know a lot of times when you see stuff on television or even see stuff presented on the internet, you're getting the most stripped down version of it. And you don't know
Right.
that until you actually do it.
Right. Instead of that 15-minute segment, it's actually like a 2-hour segment
Hmm.
that's narrowed down into that little bit of time or whatever. So you don't see all of the stuff that's actually there, all the stuff that they're actually talking about. When they're there for hours.
Yep.
They're not just there for that 15 minutes. Let me tell you about they have to keep doing it over and over, leave, come back, do it again. Then you're sitting up under those hot ass lights. Man, stop.
It's a pitch. Like, you have to have
Yes,
your
for
pitch
sure.
deck. You have to go with the presentation and there's a lot that goes
And
into
then they help
pitching.
you write that stuff.
Hmm.
Because you don't know what you're saying.
Well, and I know, and when you get into the real
Not for
world,
everybody. I'm just saying.
because in Shark Tank we think, oh, this business it has a great, it has a great following, great idea, and whatnot, and that's why they're getting funded. There are lots of billion companies that ended up getting billions of dollars, or hundreds of millions of dollars, and everyone knew the idea was terrible. If you ever look at Vivek Ramaswamy and his ascension and how he got his first 100 million, right? He took a failed drug that had been clinically proven to not work and pitched it successfully to a bunch of investors, and he knew it didn't work. They had an idea that it wouldn't work, but they still gave him a couple million dollars for it. I saw this video where they were talking about this thing called the juice era. Have you ever seen that? It's a it was supposed to change the way that we did. It was a juicer that was supposed to change the way we did fruit juice, right? And you would buy it. It was a $700 juicer. And then you had to sign up for $150 a month subscription. And in that subscription, they would send a pack of juice to put in the juicer, right? The juice era juicer. And it had to be Newsweek or the New York Times or whatever. They were reviewing it on their website, and they showed somebody just taking the bag that you paid $150 a month for and just taking their hand and squeezing it into a cup and completely destroyed that business. That investors had put money into.
Oh wow.
They just came and just they took it and squeezed it because the juice era had it needed to be connected to Wi-Fi. I don't know why your juicer needs to be connected to Wi-Fi, but they had it connected to Wi-Fi and pay this $150 to get bags of juice that they would send to your house, and and it had all these bells and whistles and everything, and the New York Times person just took the bag and just squeezed it into a cup,
Okay.
killed the entire business model. And so a lot of times when we think about the when you see Shark Tank, there's a level of competence that's assumed in Shark Tank. Your product or whatever your business has to be a game changer and has to be successful and everything. In the real world, you just got to have a good shine to it, and people got to see that they can make money off of it real quick. And it doesn't matter how great the idea is; it's just got to be something that they can sell for any length of time until it goes away. Anyway, that was just that's an aside, but just seeing that stuff, you see a lot of people that think that they're experts on that entire world of venture capital and stuff, and that it is what it is. So why thinking is not enough? I think I jumped. Let's see. A lot of times we get caught up, and I'm guilty of this. Fearless to tell you, I get caught up in analyzing stuff. Get hooked into the analyzation side of things, right? Analyze, and then never execute the thing because I think I'm gonna outsmart the future version of me by over analyzing this thing.
Right.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Well, how would you explain that process where you analyze something to death and then you never ever execute it? How would you explain that, Fearless? Like, well, I guess my question is, why is it so comfortable to sit and analyze and plan and shit like that?
I mean, because we have the time to do so.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's this guy who said, well, the quote is attributed to him. His name is Thor Heyerdahl, and he was an anthropographer or anthropologist. And he said that progress is man's ability to complicate simplicity. And I'll say it again. Progress is man's ability to complicate simplicity. That basically means that instead of taking a stick, taking a line, taking a hook, and going out fishing, we take a boat, we take all this bait, we take all this shit that you don't need to do something simple. So in layman's terms, we basically drag shit the fuck out. And then we call it progress. Yeah. Right? All the stuff that you just said about that juicer, same thing I was just thinking about. You know? Like the same exact thing. Now, sometimes we do make things a lot better. Phones has your music, TV, camera. It has everything right now that you'll need. Most families, like my friend LeVay, they don't even have a TV in their house. They don't need them. I have a TV right behind me. That thing has been off more times than it's been on. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
it does.
It's been off more than it's been on. My computers, if I'm awake, they're on. Right? That TV is off. It's off most of the time. The TV in my room is on because I play video games on it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I asked my son, we have a big basement. You've been here.
Yep.
I have a huge basement. I'm like, son, you want me to go grab a TV? I can get like a 70, 80-inch TV. What are we going to use it for? That's what a 13-year-old asked me. Dad, what are we going to do with it? Why do we need it? I'm like, son, you're down there. Nah, it's okay. I don't need it. I'm like, okay. You know, and I didn't do it. So, you know, what do you do?
And it sounds like the TV ends up becoming more of an appliance, more of a piece of furniture than an appliance that you actually use
Literally,
on a
yeah.
daily basis. Um, to go along with, so I was working in group homes. We used to take the kids out fishing all the time, in the downtime or whatnot. And we had two kids. We had one kid that was parents spoiled, rich, bought him everything, right? And we had another young man who, um, his parents were kind of absent, and we provided most of the stuff he needed. So we went out fishing. And the younger kid who didn't have anything was 10. The older kid was like 14. Take them fishing. The kid with all the fancy, like he has this fancy reel and all this fancy bait and everything. He's standing there and he's getting frustrated because nothing's biting on his end. He's getting agitated.
Mhm.
Plus, he's an ADHD kid. And so this is like really pissing him off and freaking him out. My 10-year-old, he had a can of corn, a string, and a hook. And he's just pulling catfish out, pulling catfish out, pulling catfish out. And the 14-year-old was getting really upset.
I'm sure.
And I said, have you considered just asking him if you could borrow some of his corn? Because apparently the fish don't like the bait you're using.
Hmm.
And he did. And he was able to start pulling stuff out. But the simplest solution worked. He didn't even have a reel or anything. He just had string and a hook. It was just dropping in the water, holding it for a little bit, something would bite, yank it right out.
That's it.
Yeah. And he didn't need the elegant solution because it was kind of a catch and release thing. You could pull, like, you if you got a bass, I think you had to put the bass back, but if you pull catfish out, you can keep the catfish. And specifically like bluegills and stuff, you had to take bluegills if you caught them. And the kids would,
Why?
just because they're infesting that specific lake. And
Oh,
so
okay.
so if you pulled a bluegill out, more times than not, the kids would take the bluegill and then you almost use the bluegill to try to catch bigger fish with.
Really?
Yep. But this kid had figured out the 10-year-old, because he didn't have the life experience and he didn't have the experience of parents that bought him fancy gear. He didn't have all that. So he made do with what he had and had success with it. Meanwhile, this kid had been kind of, you know, in his life experience, he thought he needed all this stuff to go fishing.
Right.
The vest and the hat, and like I said, his reel was way more expensive than the ones that we would used to get for free. And all the lure and everything. And when he go home, his parents would spend all kinds of money to get him new
Yeah.
bait and everything. Mm-mm. And he didn't have success with it. And it's like, bro, it's not the fact that you're doing it wrong. It's just you're using the wrong tool and you've overcomplicated the whole process for yourself.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We had kids that were pulling stuff out with, they would chalk up hot dogs and throw them in, and hook them and throw them in and pull fish out with it. And he's got this, all this. When it hits the water, it wiggles, and I was like, no, it's not working, bro.
Right.
I told you that. So it's just kind of interesting reflection on, how we do overcomplicate things by analyzing. Like I said,
Mhm.
for me, using imagination is fun. Planning is the shit, bro. You get to use your imagination and see where, you know, if show yourself how smart you are and everything
Right.
else. And I think it becomes a place where you're comfortable. And I've been pushing myself hard into the execution side of things, where I'm really trying to start before I'm comfortable with it. And that hasn't been easy because that's not a happy place for me. Starting before I understand all the dynamics of it. But sometimes you just got to force yourself into that ball. You got to force
Right.
yourself
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
For sure.
but yeah, and you got to expose risk. Go ahead.
Another thing too, like when I'm, uh, obviously back in school and stuff, and one of the things that our professor says our writing is that sometimes, man, the best things to do is just start writing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Regardless of what comes out, regardless of how it sounds, it doesn't matter. Just write anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people are just sitting around waiting for that eureka moment to
Oh
just
yeah.
do that thing. It's like, no, fuck that. Just write. It doesn't matter. Matter of fact, how's your day going? And write that.
Hmm.
And maybe that will turn in to something else. So what I was telling a guy that we had this whole conversation or whatever about motivation and and versus discipline.
Hmm.
And I told him I said that motivation, like people don't find motivation, you become motivated.
Yeah.
Motivation is what happens while you're in the midst of doing something. Even the word itself, motive,
Hmm.
means to be in momentum of something. You got to already be moving. That's the reason why you don't get you're not motivated to clean. I'm not motivated to clean my car.
Right.
Okay, I'm not. My car is filthy, but I'm not motivated to clean it. Now, what happens once I start cleaning it? See, discipline has to happen first. And discipline is doing something that you don't want to do, but you do it anyway because it has to be done. And while you're in the midst of disciplining yourself, doing something you don't want to do, you get motivated while you're doing it.
Yep.
Especially like if you start running, it's like, well, David Goggins says, I hate running. So what do? I put my shoes by the door.
Yeah.
Okay, grab my shoes, put my shoes on, walk out the door, run, come back when you're done. Yeah, and I don't think anybody has ever said, you know what, I wish I hadn't worked out today. You know what I'm saying? I don't think anybody's who you probably said I don't want to go work out,
Yeah.
but after you're done, it's like, damn, I'm happy I did that. You know, you feel good. You know what I'm saying? Your synapses are firing off. You feel amazing. Yeah, it's just one of those things.
Right. And you got to outsmart. Like it is coming down to outsmarting yourself, especially with the David Goggins thing. Um, there are times like for me, and you know this. Like if I go to the gym, bro, like I have my window when I go to the gym, and my window is I drop my kids off of school and I head straight over to the gym. That way, I don't have any excuses, anything to get in the middle. If I come back home, I'm not going to the gym. I know that enough about myself where if I don't go right after I drop my kids off from school, one, my workout's gonna suck. Um, because I'm be thinking about all the other shit I need to be doing because normally I would be working during that time if that makes sense. Um, I'll be working during that time, and so
Yeah, it makes sense.
my mind is kind of consumed with all the stuff I need to be working on, as opposed to that time I have carved out on Monday, Wednesday, Friday when I drop my kids off to school. And so
Mhm.
if I don't go in the morning, I'm not gonna go. But that's also I have to drive past the gym to get back to my house once I drop my kids off at school. And so that's a simple little thing I can do. And that's a trick I can play on myself to hold myself accountable to do the thing that I may or may not want to do. I like lifting weights. I don't like everything that comes along with getting up and going to the gym, if that makes sense. Like I gotta pack my stuff. I gotta grab, I don't like everything. Once I finally get in the gym, it's automatic. Put my, grab my braces, straps, all the other stuff that I need. Uh, headband, carrier for my phone, and I get out there and my towel, and I get out there and lift the heavy stuff. But
Where,
every
where, where do you where do you lift at?
I know I lift at Crunch Fitness. I used to
Where's
lift at
that?
that's up on like 90th and Maple, like right on that intersection of 90th and Maple. Um,
Hmm.
in that plaza. I used to live at the Maple Street Y, but Crunch is cheap. Um, you know, but it was a nice flow because for a while I would always encounter like people that were powerlifting. And that's how I got invited to lift a powerlifting team because they saw me lifting and I would work in sets with them and I was lifting what they were lifting in competitions. And so like, well, have you considered it? Like, nah, not really. Um, but I miss that side of the Y because that was the crew that I used to be able to engage with and lift with. But Crunch, I don't have to compete for equipment as much, and it's
Why?
cheaper.
Because nobody's there.
No, it's a lot bigger. It's huge. It's old grocery
Hmm.
store. That
Oh
that
wow.
that
Okay.
old that bag and save that used to be up on 90th and Maple, is the Crunch Fitness now. And so yeah,
Oh
and
wow. Hold on. Talk about that one that was right in that, like that whole
that plaza.
bag and say. Oh
Yeah.
wow.
So that's a gym now, and it's bigger. There's more. The weight room. I could say the weight room is bigger than what the Y was, because the Y was so much more than just you had basketball courts and all this other stuff. Crunch is just you got weights, you got your cardio equipment, and then your workout classes. But it's much more access and stuff like that.
Okay.
And so yeah, but that's where I lived. And like I said, I have to drive by my house to get there. So I mean, when I drop the kids off, I got to pass the gym to come home. So I'll just stop there, and go in there and get it
Okay.
done.
I got you.
But that's how I've made it a routine for myself. Um, you know, I think, if I had to think about it, if I had to think about it every single time, I wouldn't do it. I had to remove the part of my brain that forces me to think about it. That's why I need to get back with my writing, because it used to be something I did reflexively.
Mhm. Funny enough, I started, like, even with my books. Um, when I started school, I wasn't reading as much,
Hmm.
and I found, I don't know, man, I started getting depressed, dude. Like
Why is that?
serious, like, cause reading is my out.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I didn't realize just how powerful reading was for me until that. Like until I started school. Like I've always loved to read. Like don't get it twisted, but like being in school, like I had stopped for a while. Like I had to jump back in. Like I'm like, cool. Once you're done with your classes, you know, grab a book and start reading. You might not be able to do 3 or 4 books a week right now. Cool.
Hmm.
Just do one. So like on the weekend, like I sat and read this 400 and some odd page book in like a couple days. Just because like it wasn't the best either. I think I gave it like a 4.1. It was all right. I
Hmm.
just needed to get that time in, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, it, when you start giving up, and I'm kind of spinning back a little bit, but when you start giving up chunks of things that you enjoy to do the stuff that you feel like you have to do, it ends up making the shit you feel like have to do feel like more of a burden.
Correct. Correct. And I like school. I really do. Like I didn't honestly I didn't think that I would enjoy it as much as I am. I did not think that I would, but like we're almost done with this semester, and
Hmm.
I'm just like, God damn, cool, cool.
Yeah, you're just happy to
I
be
don't
over
mind.
with.
Yeah, yeah, especially with certain classes, I'm cool with it. Like, let's be done with it.
So,
Like that. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
and so the question is, how do you keep up the momentum? Because you're in school, you're going to be, how long are you going to be in your degree program?
For the next 3.5.
Okay. So the question is, how do you keep the momentum up?
First, so it's kind of like you and working out.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't have to think about it. I just do it. Like you know what I'm saying? Dude, I was already sitting down reading for hours on end anyway.
Okay.
Now I'm just getting a degree. That's
I
it.
feel that.
So it's nothing. I'm not doing anything differently that I have not done for the last 20 some years. Nothing. I'm just getting recognized from some college that I've actually been doing something that I've been doing for the last 20 some years.
Okay.
Like you know what I mean? Like it. That is just that's just kind of what it is. Like I love to read. I got a whole I don't hold on, let me see. I got a whole thing here. Hold on. Of books in my little wake that I've seen. Any that look familiar? Hold on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Soledad brother, that was one I was talking about.
Yeah, I
Uh
know. I bought it when you told me about it. So the Nazi and the psychiatrist, um, 22 Sales in Nuremberg, Kurt Vonnegut.
Slaughterhouse
Yeah,
Five.
yeah, that part. So so I mean, then I got a couple more in my car or whatever. So like, yeah, bro, like don't get it twisted, man. Like and again, I may not be able to read the 500-600 pages right
Mhm.
now, but I can read these little tiny ones and still get the same, um, still get that same feeling,
Mhm.
still get that same dopamine hit that you know what I'm saying that I've grown accustomed to.
All right. So, um, and kind of feeding into that, I was looking at, and I was talking to somebody this morning about, the reason why I carve out so much time for what I'm doing with my live stream, where I'm talking about comic books and all that other random stuff. Um, I protect that time because that's the thing that gives me energy and gives me life
Yeah, that part.
and empowers me through a lot of the stuff that I don't like necessarily doing all the time. And so I protect that time. I protect that time with
Okay.
everything I got in me. And I'm actually at a point now where I'm like, okay, I'm going to take the flyer and see if I can make money actually doing this fun thing. Because we've talked about it before. Because I've actually had good response to that a video that broke 10,000 views in a day. And I'm like, okay, there's something there. And so I'm actually creating a cultivated paid community for Black nerds to discuss Black nerd stuff, politics, and everything
Mhm.
without having the filter of social media and having other stuff weighing in. Because invariably, whenever we have conversations about Black characters in shows and movies and stuff, there's always somebody who has this outsider's perspective, and it's not necessarily a productive part of the conversation. Um, Things kind of break down. I've seen it more recently. They're talking about the latest season of Invincible. Well, why does Tech Jacket have to be made into a woman? And people are like, well, I mean, the character, the creator has a say in what happens on the animated series. Apparently, you wanted this character. You thought this character would be better imagined in that world as a woman. Well, that's just erasing another man, and but we can't. And it devolves into a bunch of the woke this and that, and it's like I think we need a space where we can talk about things we enjoy without having to deal with that weird element of it. Right?
Yeah, without always having to justify why we're doing something.
Yeah.
Like, why are you guys changing this? Again, like I said before about the conservatism and again, I'm not necessarily saying liberal. All that stuff is cool too, but again, I think there comes a price where there's that dichotomy
Hmm.
within it that where you have to find your balance, man. And I
Yeah.
think that sometimes what's happening is that we're not finding our balance.
And I think that's an interesting point to lean into. Like we're not necessarily balanced. We're like we feel like we have to take these dichotomies of thought. Like there's no room to have a thought that's similar but a little bit different, or a stream of thought that's kind of. You have to stridently disagree with this other person. Um, if you have the slightest disconnection in terms of how you see things, you have to be stridently pounding the table, urgently, disagreeing with this person in the most strident terms. And it's like there are nuances to how everybody sees things, right? You know, um, yeah, I was telling people my politics will be considered kind of leftist, but there are parts of it that aren't. And That means that there are parts that I agree with leftists on. There are parts that I don't necessarily agree on, but people have to turn it into a fight to like a mud fight to the ground about it. Because there's no nuance. I can't have a slightly different opinion without having to fight you to the ground about it.
Hmm.
And I think that's what we become addicted to in this society. You know, the slightest difference in opinion turns into this huge gulf. But then when you have massive differences of opinion,
I'm
it
still
becomes
on.
these massive differences of
Say
opinion.
hi.
Hey, Anya, how's it
Yeah,
going?
we're still on.
All right.
Yeah, say hi.
Yeah. Hi, Brian.
Hey,
I
Anya.
think Chris is there too.
Yeah.
Oh. Hey, Chris. I'm about to go on my podcast.
When you have these
I'll just
massive,
jump in right now.
Jump in.
when you have these massive arcs and differences of opinions, you got to put 10 toes down and not even be willing to talk to the other side. And there's sometimes where you do have that level of disconnect from somebody, but that doesn't mean that it has to devolve into an argument or shouting match. Only time where it devolves, where I'm like, this is insurmountable, is you're having an argument about whether I have the right to exist.
Hmm.
And that's right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'll fight you. That's going to be a fight. But more times than not, it's a nuance. Like, what do I believe? Do I believe in the electoral politics, or do I like this politician versus that politician? Those are small, nuanced kind of arguments that we used to be able to have before the internet made everybody pick a side and stand 10 toes down on that side.
Yeah.
So,
So
I
where
think,
we at? Where's the next one?
what trial and error actually means. What do we mean by it when we say a trial and error?
Get your ass out and try something.
Yeah, go get the experience on you.
That's it.
Stop I've met with so many business owners who haven't opened a business yet. They want to be a business owner. They imagine about it. They hate their job. It's like, so are you ready to go? I got to get this thing in place. I got to get this thing in place. I got to get this thing in place. Well, I mean, you're putting that thing in place. Did you actually try it to know if the thing you're putting in place will really matter? Well, no.
Right.
The only way you're going to find out is to try it. Try it. Well, how am I going to find customers? Have you tried taking money from people and providing a service or a product to them? Well, no. So restart. And I've encountered a lot of people that are aspiring and wanting to do it, but they never do. And that ends up becoming the thing that they retire with, where by the time all their energy is depleted and physically they can't do it anymore, that's going to be the thing that is going to keep them up at night about, what if I did this?
Right.
And so in my life, I'm trying not to leave too many what if I did this. I'm just go ahead and try it and fall on my face with it if I need to.
Right. And I mean, think inside the box too. But I mean, when people say, you need to think outside the box, I think it all depends on how big your box is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because if you got a small box, then yeah, you should probably think outside of it. But what happens if you have a big, humongous VY Canis Major type box?
Right.
And basically what that is it's another star that basically makes our sun look like a grain of salt. That's how big that one is. Matter of fact, I don't even know how many Earths you can fit inside of that. The number is, you can fit 1.3 million Earths inside of our sun. So imagine how many suns you can fit in that. So
right.
There you go.
Well, and then we expand it out because there are things that are even bigger than that. I mean, the black hole that's at the center of our galaxy is ultra massive. You know what I'm saying? And your mind even, like, here's the thing. If we took a human being, like if I took you or me and we put ourselves in front of the sun, and our minds would not be able to fathom what we were looking at.
No. I mean, you died way before that, but still, yes. I see what you mean.
Even if you could survive, you could survive the ordeal and everything, and you got to fly up to see what the sun looked like. It is so massive, your eyes could not even fathom what you were looking at.
No.
Your brain couldn't process it. And
Yet.
yeah, yeah,
Yet.
it'll take
Because
a long.
eventually, you'd get used to it.
Yep.
You know what I
And,
mean?
and I think a lot of people are still stuck in that. Not they never get into the getting used to the idea
Hmm.
because they never try it and start acclimating themselves to the thing.
Right.
So, um, but yeah, I think I'm really trying to try the things that are in my brain to see if they work. You know, and that's the world that I'm trying to. I don't want to be that guy that's sitting on the couch at 70 years old. Like, what if I did this? What if I did that? What if I did this? You know, I want to say I at least tried this thing because you can be haunted by the things that you didn't do, and I've seen it happen too many times. You know, so
Hey,
um,
sorry about that.
oh yeah, no problems. I look at my godfather, and his what if he started that restaurant because he's always been a phenomenal Creole cook. That's what he was trained in. And he had the chops. He's catered and stuff, but he never pursued the restaurant. You know,
No, why not?
and there's always a reason: military service, professional life, and things along those lines. And that was always his dream to start. Me and him would start a restaurant.
Why
At
not?
some
Why not just start making plates and sending them? I know people doing that now.
Yeah, but it's also a generational thing. You know, um, he always viewed that as a pipe dream that can never manifest for him, and is better moored to the real world of the things that actually made money for him. So he's chasing his dreams. It's just different dreams now, if that makes sense. He's doing things that he always wanted to do. Um, you know, doing a lot of stuff with Tuskegee Airmen and things along the survive. He was huge advocate working with the surviving Tuskegee Airmen and stuff. That stuff he always dreamed about doing. But that restaurant thing was always kind of his thing, what he wanted to do, but he never thought about it like that. He was always super, super, super pragmatic in that, where it's like, yeah, how would I make, how would this be viable and blah, and that's what he would focus on. So let's see what Liberty has to say here. Since the vast majority of new businesses fail. Sacrifice ability for. Here's the thing. You don't know, and I'll be honest with you, you could have the most solid, rock solid business plan in the world. You can have a plan for every single eventuality, but there are things you can't account for. You can't account for the timing. You can't account for what the market is doing. There are so many nuanced factors that determine whether business is going to be successful or not, that you can plan yourself into oblivion, or you can come up with the perfect plan and execute it. And there are factors that just won't. There's certain things that will not align for you. You know what I'm saying? That's what I see in the restaurant business. I've seen plenty of people get into the restaurant business with plenty of experience. They know exactly what they're doing. They got a great product that people are demanding. Their restaurant's never empty, and yet something changed, some factor changes, and even making more, even bringing in more, it costs more and more to operate the restaurant. And they could never make the things line up. It's not a matter of execution. It's just some things didn't work out.
Verse.
Uh,
Come again 1,000 times.
And I don't know if it's best that they never try. I think that you need to try and see if it actually works for you, because there's some people that have wildly successful businesses. They don't know what the hell they did. They just know what they did works. But if they never tried it, they would have never experienced the success.
Yeah. And I mean, Liberty Sister, that's all we get it to.
Yeah.
It's, people get scared of trying stuff, and instead of just getting out there and just figuring it out, it's, well,
Yeah.
No, I don't know. But again, though, I also think it's a lot of cultural type stuff too, or whatever that because in other cultures, especially like in the Indian culture, Chinese culture, their cultures to get out there and go figure it out.
Yeah. Well,
You know,
and
period.
if you
They
also,
have to.
I've seen people that grown up in an entrepreneurial family where somebody in their family that they're close to is a business owner, an entrepreneur. That gives you a set of skills that you don't get through experience.
Hmm.
That gives you a specific risk tolerance that you don't get through experience. And so the and that they have the experience that can shortcut 5 years of learning on the job. So there are elements to it. Restaurants are
Yeah,
no,
no, yeah, I
yep.
totally get that too. But again, though, man, you still got to put it out there. I mean, here's the thing. There's this. We live in Omaha, Nebraska, and there was this food truck called Tattoo Bob's,
Hmm.
and Tattoo Bob's was a food truck that sold barbecue, the best barbecue I have ever had in Omaha. Period. Absolutely amazing. Their food was great. Um, whatever, but he decided to go off and go do something else.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And again, it's not like again, I don't know how they did financially, but what I can tell you is that they sold out constantly.
Hmm.
So to the point where you'd have to call him and be like, "Hey, do you have anything left?" And sometimes he'll put stuff aside for you, especially if he knows you're a regular. So again, I still don't think that that's a good enough reason not to try.
Hmm.
Trial and error means trial and error. And it doesn't always mean that you need to do it out of a food truck. You need to do it out of a restaurant. They have those pop up restaurants all the time.
Hmm.
What are they called? Secret kitchens or whatever?
Yep.
They
Ghost.
got those things,
Hmm.
ghost kitchens, constantly. So people can meet you over there,
Right.
just to get their food. Or you can cook it at your house if it's something that's kind of gourmet. Around here, people will drive you a plate, or you can go pick up a plate from them. It happens. So if you want it bad enough, you will figure it out.
Well.
But again, here's the other thing: if your food sucks, the public ain't gonna buy it.
Hmm.
Period. You know what I'm saying? So if your food sucks, the public will let you know.
Well,
As long as they know about you, I'll say that.
and I think the thing we got to the last piece I'll throw in, and I'm answering the question before I'm reading this one. I'm answering the last thing. For some people, money isn't the determinant factor on whether they view themselves as a success. Um, I've seen people take what would be considered super impractical gigs and parlay them into wildly successful things that people wouldn't even think of. Set designers parlaying their love for making Star Wars replicas and stuff, parlay that into adorable real business and a full-fledged career. And if you talk to somebody, their fascination with Harry Potter and Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, it doesn't seem like it could be a viable business until he actually goes out and executes and makes it a viable business. But some
Mhm.
people, you know, having a restaurant that just pays their bills and make sure that they have a roof over their head and can pay for what their kids need. So for some people, that's good enough. And I think we take our measures of success and apply them to other people. And sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't. Um, in my old life, I was really, really successful managing congregate care environments. Couples, one or two seats removed from the executive seat. I pretty much accomplished everything in my industry by the time I was like 34, 35 years old. Now I got up there and I felt empty.
Hmm.
I had a resume that absolutely dwarfed a lot of other people's with a bachelor's level education. I was hiring and firing PhD candidates because I had the working knowledge. But one day it just came out. I just didn't have it in me anymore. And I walked away. So I ask super successful business owners why they don't duplicate success in more restaurants. It's never that simple. Even a super successful restaurant location can be a failure. It's the same as food and ambiance. Here's the other thing. And Dave McRaney, write that name down, Liberty. Dave McRaney, um, he wrote the You're Not So Smart books. It's about cognitive science. He talks about survivorship bias. And the question he says is, the question he asked is, I'll answer that in a second. He talked about the entire concept of in World War II, the planes flying over, right? And they're trying to figure out how to design the planes to keep from getting shot down because the bombers would fly over and they would get shot down. And initially, they started armoring the spots in the bombers that had survived where the most bullet holes were, and they realized their numbers weren't getting any better, right? What they had to do was go figure out where the places where the bullets weren't, because that was making the plane crash. Those were the spots that those are the planes that they didn't see. Those are the bombers that didn't survive their runs over the battlefield.
Okay. So what happened?
So they looked at all the planes and they took the planes that had survived, that made it successfully through the battlefield, right? And they saw where all the bullet holes were. And initially they were going to put armor in all the places where the most bullet holes were congregated in the surviving planes. They kind of took average. And I'm trying to remember the story correctly, but I think that it didn't necessarily work, and they were still struggling with losing planes. And the numbers started ticking up. And finally, somebody kind of looked at it and said, why don't we put armor where the bullets aren't in the surviving planes? Because that's where those bullets are hitting, and the planes that we never see come back to us, that's what's taking the planes down. The answers
So
are
it's not what's hitting, it's what's not being hit.
It's not what's being hit in the surviving planes. They were able to take bullets in the places where they were taking bullets and still successfully land the plane. But the graveyard is where they found their answers. Because those planes were getting hit in different places, but since they never saw where they were getting hit because those planes didn't return to them,
Gotcha.
they weren't able to take. And so for restaurants specifically, the answer isn't asking the restaurant owners a lot of times who are super successful. It's asking the restaurateurs who failed miserably. Or failed multiple times, because they're going to be able to tell you what not to do. Because it's hard to replicate somebody's success because you don't always know what created that success.
What did and what did not happen, yes.
But when you're talking about somebody's failure, you can kind of find the seeds to why somebody failed. So when you walked away from the job, did you go into something with better pay? Bro, I went into trying to buy a trophy shop. And it wasn't better pay. I was trying to buy a franchise when I left that job. Because I had
so you literally got out of that field completely.
Yeah, because I'd already had my marketing business I was kind of doing on the side, off like one-offs for people and stuff like that. And this is a personal disclosure, but around the time I'd left that job is when my mom died. And I used to tell my workers all the time, if you ever reach your point of burnout in this field, you need to leave it, working with kids and families. Because once you reach burnout, the decisions you make for these families last forever. And the decisions that you make as a burnt out person in this field can impact these families for the next 18 years.
Oh, wow.
And so you need to make sure that is coming from a compassionate place and not just a place of, I want to get this over with. And so I had to take my own advice. When my mom died, it literally I experienced burnout. All the stuff that I was doing, it burnt me out within a month. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. All the compassion I had for my staff and the kids I was caring for and their parents and stuff, it was harder to dig into, to come up with, to do the hard shit that it requires to take care, to help people through their darkest times. Like, I don't want to drag anybody down because I'm clocked out. And I got offered, like my supervisor, boss actually said, we'll give you you could take a 6-month sabbatical And where I was at the time, I'm like, I don't think it's going to be fixed in 6 months. We might as well just start bringing on somebody new now. And so I was in the hiring process. I was part of the hiring process of my replacement and the training process of my replacement. Because that's how clocked out I was. I'm like, I'll train them, onboard them. I'll even sit in on the job interview and say who to hire and who not to hire. But yeah. And so, no, I didn't go into a field that paid better. Like I was at the top of my industry. And to be honest with you, if I ever wanted to go back into it, it wouldn't be nothing for me to get back into it. I still get job requests for it. I still get people asking me to come head this thing up, or can you manage this thing? Or there's a new home that's starting up. We could use your expertise as a director. You know, it's just something I don't have any energy for me to do. I'm working with kids in a different capacity now. You know, I don't have to take home horror every single day, which is nice, because in case management, I was literally taking home human horror stories every single day and carrying that home with me. You don't get paid enough to do that.
No.
So, but yeah,
No, you don't.
I didn't, and I had no, I had money. I had saved up. I had really saved up a good chunk. And I was really disciplined on that end of it. And so when I stepped out, and decided I'm gonna try my hand at that. But yeah, man, that's just, and so I took a flyer, and the trophy shop didn't work out, but the other marketing side did. Now it wasn't, millions and millions of dollars, but it was enough to do something with.
Right.
So it is what it is. And now I'm in the next phase of that. I'm trying to figure out what the next phase of this moving in the future, moving forward. And that's where the video room and the media room and all this other stuff, because I want to do some kind of hybrid with teaching people video marketing and also providing videography services while teaching it to them. And so that's the next iteration of what I'm doing, is moving out of the done for you and actually teaching people how to do this kind of stuff, to get online and start doing the kind of stuff me and Fearless are doing right now. And so now it's figuring out the best way to apply it.
Right.
So sorry, I chewed up a lot of airtime with that, but that's kind of where I was.
No, that's what's up.
Let me jump back and see kind of where we are, because I think we actually covered a lot of stuff. Failure as information. This is actually a good follow-up to what Liberty was saying. A lot of times when we talk about like failure, like specifically I talk about a failed restaurant, like we were just talking about.
Okay.
We consider that it's a proof of your inability to do the thing. And that's how we catalog it. We try to avoid failure. We're embarrassed about failure.
At all costs.
And even in my world, I've experienced this. I'm still embarrassed about things I feel like I failed at. And I know that that's not necessarily a useful feeling, because really it's just a data point. But failure provides real feedback. It provides data. It provides direction. It tells you this is where this thing is screwed up, and this is how we avoid it in the future. But we take a failed business as an indictment against everything that we stand for. And sometimes it's just, hey, we tried a thing that didn't work. What did you learn from it? Where's the lesson in it? So I say, get out there and fail hard and fail fast. I know that's I know people in tech talk like that all the time. Get out there, fail fast, and break stuff. I'm not saying break stuff, but I say get out there and try the thing and see if you have enough knowledge to make it work, or not enough knowledge to make it work at all. Because again, there's always that restaurateur that knows everything, get out there and executes the way that they know how to, and the thing doesn't work for them. And then that person that doesn't know a damn thing, and get out there and have massive success. You never know. But yeah, failure is a data point. What do you think about that, Fearless? Is like failure being a good data point for you?
Oh, yeah, same thing. I mean, I think kind of like you just said, it's one of those things that but personally, like I like to fail quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it helps me to kind of get over not only the anxiety of being scared of certain things, the anxiety of fear, the anxiety of looking stupid, but it allows me to move a little faster in what I need to do. So, like, I have this thing coming up in another year or so where we have to learn about statistics and
Mm-hmm.
probabilities and stuff. And apparently, that is one of the courses that people fail a lot in. I actually like statistics and I can't wait to learn it,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't just want to pass the class, I want to learn what I'm doing so I can use it for different stuff. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's one of those classes too, if I'm not mistaken, that they do monitor you when you're there. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like they watch everything you're doing because people will cheat on
Yeah.
that, which I don't blame them. But why are people cheating? They're cheating because you didn't show them what they needed to learn the way that they learn. Because otherwise, just get on and just knock it out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't even be a test like, hey, show me that you know how to do this. So like when I'm learning stuff, I look at it from the standpoint that if I was teaching this to somebody else, how would I teach it to them? What do I need to know to teach this?
Yep.
That's how I learn stuff. Because my objective is not for me to learn it, it's for me to learn it to give it to you. And if I learn it to teach it, then I'm going to be able to figure out ways to map this, whatever it is, in with every single thing that I do. You know what I mean?
That
Everything
makes
that I
sense.
do, I'll be able to map it and be able to help you with it. So, like, I love teaching.
Mm-hmm.
I like reading, teaching, all that stuff. Studying, like, that doesn't, again, why would I not be in school?
I think, and that's I think the tension, the creative tension you're kind of experiencing with it is you are in school for the betterment, like to better, because it's something you
Yes,
wanted to do and stuff like
yes.
that. It's a journey you're taking. There are some people out there that this is just a box that they got to check and they just want it over with.
And that's literally what it is. Oh, don't get it twisted. I do want it over with,
Hmm.
but I do want to learn what I need to learn so I can move on.
And I think that also is a thing that does come with age, where a lot of times people want to just speed run through experiences just so that they're done with, so you can say you completed them, as opposed to spending time in the experience, dwelling in the experience, um, and existing in that experience. Um, I think um, they don't want to live in that place where they're actually having to, and experience it. Like it's just like they want to skip the entire experience and get to the end. And I think that's why you see people cheating on this stuff, because they're like, I just want this over with. And I get it, they want it over with, but at the same time, they don't even want it to register as.
A
It's
learning
almost like they don't even want
experience.
to. They don't even want to register the experience. They just want it over with. Um, and it just, people are coming in different places. Some people are just like, I just need this degree so I can get this promotion. I don't care about none of this other stuff.
Right.
And um, and other people are like, I'm coming back because there's something I specifically want to do, but I want to enjoy the experience of going to school too. I want to embrace it and
Yeah.
lean into it.
Yeah. My professors ask all the time when they ask all of us, what grade do you want? I don't, and it's kind of crazy to ask because on one hand, I'm like, I don't really care about the grade. I want to learn what I need to learn about whatever I'm doing.
Hmm.
But on the other hand, I'm at an A average on everything. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So I do care about my grade, but
Uh,
I would rather know this more than the grade itself.
well, and that's kind of a crazy question. What grade do you want? I want an A. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Actually, it's funny enough. I never write that. I always write that I want to B minus, B plus, C plus. And the reason why I always say that is because I always want to strive for something better. So if I know the
Right.
A is there, and again, cool. I don't mind having good grades because I know what I'm doing. But what good is a good grade if I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing? I was reading this book, what the best college students do before I started college. And one of the things that they said was ask a lot of questions. Um, what do you say? Ask a lot of questions. Get your stuff done quickly.
Yeah.
Like we have a whole week to get stuff done. Every one of my professors will tell you I get everything done. As soon as they put it out, I'm done. Like I do it right. I don't care what the reading is, what the writing is. I get it all done
Yeah.
like that day. So if you put it out like they put it out usually Monday morning. Some of them Sunday night. So whatever's open on Sunday night, I'll do that Sunday night. As soon as they open it up on Monday morning, I already got a bunch of stuff going on. But as soon as I get home, today
Hmm.
I ain't go to bed till 1, almost 2 o'clock in the morning working on papers. As soon as I'm done, boom. As soon as before we got on here, that's what I was doing. I was fixing up this paper that I have.
Hmm.
I have to put 2 more citations, 2 more references in for both of the things that I'm working on, and then I'm good. And and this is like my third paper in 10 hours. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't mess around, dude. Hold on, it says, but nowadays a lot of school de-emphasize the merit aspect of grades and instead focus on students' life experience and their priority, not to have the pressure to achieve.
Um,
I, I I
unfortunately,
don't know.
I will push back a little bit, just because I think we overemphasize the grade side of things,
Yeah,
where you have
yeah,
teachers just teaching the test, and they don't
yeah.
teach for comprehension. And so I think that they're, the most impactful teachers I've ever had, even a math teacher, a history teacher, an English teacher, um, they knew about our personal lives and they made the content relate to it. I'm 46 years old, so I went to school in the 90s. Um, um, and so the best teachers that stood out were the ones that did tie it to what we are actually experiencing. It did make it match our lived experience. The teachers that I didn't even think about, or where the classes didn't even register, were the ones that were just teaching stuff out straight out of the book. And so I do think that there's because there's different types of knowledge, there's different types of learning, there's different types of applied the way you apply knowledge and stuff. So there's all kinds of different modalities. There's different aspects of learning. Some people learn by doing, some people learn by reading, some people learn by literally being in, submerged in the thing. um and so I think having an understanding of how different people learning is an important thing. I think the blame really does fall on the overemphasis of how we grade things. Um, I
Hmm.
think a lot of our over reliance on, um, you know, there's a level of where over reliance on technology and kind of moving away from the physical reading of books and stuff like that, um, have created a comprehension gap. And I don't think it's the students getting dumber. I think we're kind of conditioning them to have to digest less information independently and create their own filters for things. Like I said, my best history teacher, it was a debate almost every class about different aspects of how different populations viewed history. So a Native American kid, well, they would have viewed a chunk of American history in one aspect. As a black person, I would have viewed it in a different aspect. As a white kid, would have viewed it in a different aspect. But if this white kid was Italian, it would have been a different aspect. And if he was Irish, so we would have these kind of ongoing conversations in class, and that did more for me, and made me more of a history buff than anything else I'd ever encountered.
Mhm.
And I think just teaching straight out of the book and just saying, can you do this standardized test, has actually done a lot of harm to kids. Understand, I don't think it's a coincidence that the group of young adults that we see struggling with comprehension, were also byproducts of No Child Left Behind, where it was a strong emphasis on, if your kids can't pass this test, then we're going to cut your resources and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I think that I
Yeah, but
think I think the population of people that you're seeing and you are having negative experiences with are a byproduct of that program. Whereas I actually had a different modality in the way I learned stuff. I went to an engineering magnet. My school was an engineering magnet, and so I was in a lot of high level science and math classes and stuff. And every single one of those teachers, like I remember, we had an engineering class where we actually had to go out, like we would take a digital camera. This is early '90s, so we took the first one of the early digital cameras, and we had to go out and get footage of a place that we wanted to redevelop, for the community or whatnot. And so we took that camera and went out there and did that. And that was a class I got a lot from. So it's not by accident students and grades intelligence are declining. We've lowered standards. Um, Sometimes I think, can you explain what you're thinking is a better way of getting somebody's knowledge than, can you answer this A, B, and C on a test? I was always biased towards essay tests anyway. Essay exams. The U.S. Three of the U.S. want to achieve, but younger people achievement is not a priority. That's based on surveys. I think they want to achieve by their own. I think they want to achieve by their own standards. If you talk to a young person, they are motivated to want to be a streamer. That's what they want to achieve because that's where the celebrity is.
Mhm.
And so they will learn audio visual. They will learn broadcasting and all kinds of other high level expensive skills in order to achieve that end. I just think we need to move the meter on achievement. But there have always been underachievers, bro. There have always been people that haven't achieved. All right. Meanwhile, in China, they're celebrating students that achieve, that we've gotten woke and so. But China, there are people in China that are jumping out of windows because they're in a factory job
Mhm.
that they hate because they're conscripted to it, man. It's
Yeah, I mean, not only that though, but not only do they jump out of factory windows, they put nets around the buildings to catch them when they jump out because it was happening so often
mm-hmm.
or whatever. So I mean, and again, I mean, we also have a high suicide rate right here in America too.
And this is the piece I will throw in here. So I came up in the era of black excellence.
Where are your stats from?
Science stats, individual cases, some examples, not achievement. Okay, so here's the thing. So for me, I came up in the era of the black excellence era, is what I will say. These are parents that were either teenagers or young adults during the civil rights era. And so they lived a childhood which was during segregated and then a desegregated adulthood. And so for us, for my generation, for a lot of my peers who I went to school with, a lot of my black peers, we were forced to overachieve.
Mm.
And I know a lot that have completely, like, they've been dealing with all kinds of PTSD and all kinds of other unresolved things because of that drive to achieve. Again, I told you I accomplished everything in my career by the time I was 35 years old. That didn't come from a healthy mindset. That came from me throwing everything away and 100% focusing on career achievement. And so I have a lot of peers. I've got cousins that are in that boat, man, where they're so driven. They're driven to a point where where it's detrimental to themselves and their personal health.
Mm.
And I don't think that I know we're taught citing stats and everything, but I do think that there has to be a balance when we start talking about achievement because it all started in school. We had to pull um, we had to, even interpersonally, we had to talk my daughter off of like, you can relax a little bit. You don't have to drive so hard, because National Junior Honor Society was absolutely 100 was um, an albatross for her, because she's involved in so many things. She was wearing herself out.
Hmm.
I don't know. We had the
Hey,
lowest.
oh, hold on 1 second.
I'm kind of
So,
trying to answer everything, but go ahead. Let's go ahead,
right.
because I've been running for a while.
So, you're saying that you're talking soft as though it's determination to achieve and to be driven. I can't see because there's a thing
Oh,
over there in the way. Okay, to achieve and be driven, but to be driven towards what though?
to a grave.
Like I mean, what is the objective? Like I mean, Liberty Twister, I hear what you're saying, man. I'm just saying, I'm driven to finish school.
Hmm.
I'm driven to help people as much as I possibly can.
I watched my mom work
Okay.
herself to death, bro. Like,
I mean, yeah, that part, man. Success, achievement, having accomplished something real. Okay, real in whose eyes, though, my guy? Like a real and success and achievement according to whom?
yeah, me and Fearless. We are kind of like, we're in this place
Like,
where
yeah, I mean,
we're
but
performing for an audience of one.
yeah, no, like that's just it though. Like, what did my guy say? Um, Vincent, no, Norman, what's his name? No, who Nightingale? Gail,
Earl
something
Nightingale.
Nightingale.
Earl
Earl
Nightingale.
Nightingale. How did he say success? Success was a progressive, worthy objective of a worthy ideal. Something along those lines. Yeah, for sure. How do you say it? That success was a progressive realization of a worthy ideal.
And I'm
So,
looking it up. I think you're right, though.
yeah, success is a progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So basically, that means that if you want to be a school teacher and that's what you end up being, then you're a success. For myself, I have called myself a philosopher for since I was in my early 20s. Now I am going to school for sociology, which to think, and philosophy, which is again to think, or whatever. And then from there, I have no idea, but I love to learn
Mhm.
in general. But you want to know who didn't help me along the lines or this road of this intellectual journey I'm on? School. Like school never encouraged me to want to be a teacher. I wanted to, and I still don't want to be a teacher, but I like to teach,
Mhm.
right? Because I like to learn, and I love the fact that when people when they get this aha moment, like, oh shit, I didn't even see it that way. That's that dopamine hit that I get. So when I read all these different books or whatever, like I love it. And not only that, but I'm actually going to school for something that like I don't need a job. Like I'm not going because I need a job. You know what I'm saying? So when you're in school because you need to raise a family, you're there because you need to work, you
Mhm.
need an actual paycheck, you need to go work for somebody who is not going to pay you shit. I mean, not here. And sadly enough, if you think that, Mel, maybe I'll just go to India to go get that job, you're sadly mistaken because they don't make shit there either. Actually, it's even worse there. So, for me, when I decided to go to school, it was a very simple decision. I looked around in my community and I said, what is it that I have to offer? What is it that I can do? And I said, you know what? There's a few things that I'm missing.
Mhm.
Let me go get that so then I can give what I plan to give. You see what I'm saying? So I have no objective of working for anyone else.
Mhm.
Period. It is all structurally for myself. I just, I love to learn and I love to teach. So I will make that my life. And for me, that is a success. Whether I have multitude of cars and motorcycles, which I have both.
Mhm.
Um, I have a house that I love my house. Matter of fact, look, I'll say this: Kurt Kurt Vonnegut, of all fucking people, was at this party. It was like in the 60s or 70s, right? And he was there. He was at this big huge um party, this big beautiful mansion, right?
Mhm.
And he was there with this actor, right? And Kurt was talking to somebody, and the person said to no, Kurt said to the guy, let me rephrase that because I suck sometimes with storytelling. The guy's like, "Oh my god, this house is amazing. This house is beautiful." Kurt says, "Yeah, but I have something that he doesn't have." And the guy looked at Kurt like, "Okay, what's that?" And Kurt looked at him and said, "Enough. I have enough."
Mhm.
That's where I am in life. I have enough. If I want something more, I'll go get it. Right? That drive within me is never left. It has just moved from me searching for these physical, material fucking possessions that I will never take with me to me giving a part of myself that hopefully will be here far after I'm gone. And if I think that if schools were to do that, we'd have a way better and totally different society in general. Period. But we don't have that. And that's fine. Whatever. I'm going to do what I can possibly do to help out not only you, but every single body around that I come in contact with. That's how I can give back. That's just me.
Yeah. I think the idea of having enough is something that we lost. Now we're talking about specifically like these millionaire, these young person pretending they're going to be for a young person pretending they're going to be a millionaire
That's
influencer.
an
Oh my God.
influencer,
But
right?
but it's in I would say this. Um that is actually like you may not be a millionaire, but you'd be a thousandaire, a high thousandaire if you know understand the fundamentals of marketing and business. The reason why they're pretending that the reason why you see these kids buying fake wads of cash and renting these expensive cars is because that's been the blueprint they've been shown. People will buy from people that look successful, and the audience they're targeting looks to those hollow things as successful. And so they're almost faking it till they make it kind of strategy. But I mean, here's what the reality is. I teach business owners how to start putting their business online and become an influencer in their industry. That's not crazy. And there are people that have small followings online that small following generates millions of dollars, generates cash for them every single month because it brings cash, it brings leads, it builds credibility and stuff like
Right.
that.
But I
And
think that what Liberty
I,
Switch was saying though is that that's also it's not something that happens
oh,
constantly. That's not a thing
I know.
that's the norm.
And that's what I'm getting to. It's an outlier, but
Yeah, very much.
I feel like they have to like you telling them that this is a pipe dream isn't going to move the needle for them. They have to go out and
No,
you have to give them room to go experience that side of it and either learn how to do it right or learn that it's not going to work for them. But you just sitting there saying, "Well, that's just a pipe dream. You can never achieve that." That's not going to teach them anything. They
no,
have to go
no,
experience it
that part.
for it to be real. And I read somewhere you never, don't try to win through art. Let people find out and let this kid go find out on their own that this ain't real. Or they don't have the skills or the charisma or the marketing skills or the luck to make it in that world.
And you know what though? Another thing too is letting them also know that they also have, because these are things that they don't have. But what do they have?
Hmm.
They have the space to go out and go fail.
Hmm.
They have the cushion there. If you do, we're here. You know what I'm saying? It's not like a it's not like a Japanese culture or certain Chinese cultures where they're like, nah, bro, you gotta go. You out. See ya. You know, I'll see you back, later on in life when you're taking care of me type stuff or whatever. I mean, I don't know. And again, I think it's just a cultural um thing in general. Taking anthropology, and that's anthropology is one of them things that's like, God damn.
Hmm.
Like you think you know some shit and you fucking don't. Like, oh my God.
So,
Dude, like the things that you think you know that you don't is so just, huh?
uh, I
You know what I'm
think
saying? Like that's just crazy to me.
too bad. All right. I'm catching up on your comments here. You're older now, more centered, more appreciative of the value of education. But I think we've devalued education to that point where we treat it like um just another set of boxes you got to check, as opposed to
And that's
something
the
you're
reason
supposed
why
to
I
take
didn't
away with
go
you.
for so many
Yeah.
years. And then not only that though, but I was always scared because so many people like, no, I ain't got no time to read. I gotta do blah 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 blah. Like, dude, reading is something like it's not something I like to do. It's something I have to do.
Yeah.
Like it's just like a runner has to get out and go get a mile or two in. I gotta get some chapters in. I gotta knock a book out.
Hmm.
And I'm not one of them type of guys that that I just like a chapter or two. No, I gotta write. I gotta read a book.
Hmm.
So leave me to my let me chill so I can read for a few hours. Let me knock this book out. That's why, like I just said, that's why I got all these like little smaller ones so I can knock these out
Hmm.
and still be like, okay, I'm okay. I'm fine. Keep going.
So
And then for the weekend, I'll knock out the bigger books.
so
The 4, the 5, the 600 pages. I'll knock those out during that time.
So, stereotypical young person, like influencer, isn't as attention centered as achievement and orientation, guys. And that's true. Here's the thing, though. I look at it like this. I've been working like my first job, my first full time like career job. I was 21 years old, and so my entire 20s, I was living like a 30-year-old. Essentially, I had my own apartment, had car notes I had to meet and everything. And there's a chunk of my 20s that I 100% missed out on, that explorational piece of my 20s. And so
Me
um,
too.
and so because of that, there's a part of me where I never got to go out there and experience success or failure on any level because I was so locked into the job and the career and stuff like that. And so at 26, I had the mentality of somebody who's like 35 years old. And I feel like I ended up cheating myself out of that fundamental time to stumble around in the dark in my 20s. I never gave myself that opportunity.
Right.
And so the problem is they're living in their basement at 30 years old. But I look at like somebody like Toni Morrison, who was a single mom and an editor working at Random House, a job she did not want. She didn't drop the bluest eye until she was 39 years old.
Yeah, and hey, I mean, right, yeah.
And so,
And I mean, not just that though, shit. Walmart, he didn't start his shit until he was 45.
I don't think there's necessarily a time clock. I do think we have to give kids the ability to go out and screw it up. And screw it up
Yes.
massively, and then
Well,
also
massively.
have enough of a village around them that they know that screw up is not the
That
end of
is
the road.
okay. That is all right. Good job.
Because we have adults that don't get that. I'm one of those adults that I'm harder. I'm hard. I'm punishing myself for stuff I failed 5 or 6 years ago because I never learned to let it go, and so I don't want my kids to not
Right.
experience that. So they need a kick in the ass. Well, sometimes the life and experience will kick you squarely in the ass, and I think that's what they actually need. You got to go out and fail. I think you have to go out there and deal with and do the thing. And that's all we're saying. I think experiential learning is probably, to me, is more important than a lot of book and regimental learning. Going out and experiencing the thing that you want to do, experiencing the life of the millionaire, the wannabe millionaire influencer, and realizing this ain't in the cards for you is more instructive than thinking about it until you're 35 years old. Does that make sense? Go out and do it at 22 years old. Realize it's BS, and now you know how to either make it work or make it not work. That's all. So, but yeah, the whole theme of the show is trial and error, and so I wanted to orient where we're at right now. We could put a pin in this and come back and talk about real limits versus imagined limits and stuff like that. So I do appreciate y'all tuning in. Be looking out for this on Spotify in the next week or so. I'm editing, getting stuff. I have everything edited now. It's sitting through hours and hours of uploads, and so that's what I got cooking right now, guys. But you're gonna start seeing this on Spotify and wherever you see podcasts. So do appreciate y'all. And thanks for tuning in. Fearless, you have anything else?
Nope. See you later.
Peace.